So welcome to ProfileTree TV, and today we're joined by Lochlann Scott, who runs the Helplink Support Services in Galway and the surrounding areas. So we're going to have a little chat today about what help is available in the area, what Lochlann does and his team, and just in mental health in general in Ireland. So thank you for taking time out to talk to us today. Really appreciate it, and I'm really looking forward to finding out more what you do and what services are on offer.
Sure, yeah, it's my pleasure. Looking forward to it. About just over 6 years ago, I founded this charity. It's called Helplink Support Services, and the website's helplink.ie. And basically, from the very beginnings of the thought of what it should be, it's always been about creating accessibility for people when it comes to their mental health, but also to do with conflict as well, so conflict resolution. They're the two main areas that we work on within Helplink, and then through that, then there's loads of different facets and services that come out of that, but they're the main two that come out of that. So it started providing services on September 10th, 2012, which was World Suicide Prevention Day. So we thought it was a good way to start off that. We started off with four people, and we're now 32 and growing. Now a lot of those would be part-timers, so we have a lot of volunteers as well. So about half of those would be about volunteers and half are paid. We provide face-to-face services in Galway and all across the county of Galway, and we also provide services up into Mayo and Roscommon. So the west of Ireland is pretty much where we cover, and then we also provide a national online service and an international online service as well. The international services for Irish people living abroad, who are struggling with their mental health, and we support them then from home with culturally sensitive counselling in that way.
Incredible. And how did you, like, how did the concept evolve, or what kicked off the project?
I suppose I was in business most of my life. I started working at 14, waiting tables and that kind of thing, and then I got into the area of security, and I became a security manager for an electrical store. And then from there, I travelled to the Netherlands and supervised an Irish restaurant in an Irish bar in Maastricht. And then I started meeting a couple of restaurant owners over there. This is a long story, but basically I saw what they were doing, and I wanted to bring that back, so that when I came back from the Netherlands, I set up a wine bar in Waterford and cafe, and it's called Lochie's Cafe and Wine Bar, and that went for about 1.5 years, and I sold it off, came back to Galway, and I was manager in a video store. I don't know if you remember Extravision, but Extravision was
It's always in my heart.
Yeah. So I managed a couple of stores for them, and then I was just there was something missing. So I went to college as a mature student. Then I'm mature of 23, and I found psychology. And within like one lecture, I did one kind of it was an information lecture, and I went, wow, this is what I was supposed to be doing all along, helping people with their what's going on in their heads. So I studied that for many years, and then also worked in the HSE for 6.5 years in social care and social work. And basically between my 2 postgrads were online as well, with University of Ulster and Open University. And it was actually through the online work, the online postgrads, that I started seeing the real merit and ease with the right platform to communicate with people and to get information out to people. I mean, one of the things I suppose was also in college, it turned out I was dyslexic, and they found this out in college, one of my lecturers. So I was struggling with taking notes and that kind of stuff and the things. So when I started doing the online ones, they gave me all the information, and I could read it all the time, and it was just so much easier. My life was so much easier through this accessibility. So I started seeing that, and then I started seeing within the HSC West, as it was at the time, that there was a lot of gaps there for people that wanted to access services outside of 9 to 5 and on the weekend. So, and furthermore, then I went and got my own counselling for about a year and a half, but I couldn't find a counsellor after 5 or on the weekend. So I had to do my counselling at my lunch break. And I was working in a very high emotional kind of state jobs within that. And so I don't think I was giving the best to my clients after coming back from the sessions. So I said, something's got to change. So I went and changed it. And we still are the only 7-day-a-week and out of hours counselling service in Galway. And when we are going to open up 2 offices now, as I said, in 2019 in Mayo and Roscommon, and we'll also be the only 7-day-a-week and out of hours counselling service in those counties as well. So that's the main aim of Helplink, is to create, as I said, the start accessibility. Mm-hmm. And we utilize traditional tools like offices, but we also then work in conjunction with online work. So, for example, some of our clients might come in and have one session, and then they go off and do the online work themselves, or they're business people and they come in and they have their counseling sessions online when they're abroad in a hotel somewhere. So it's just, really for me, it was about creating something that is available to people when they want it, and also when they need it, at times and days when they actually can engage with this thing properly, Mm-hmm. So we provide within our mental health services, we provide a suite of counselling and therapy services from 3-year-olds up to 103, 113, how far we go as humans. So we have play therapy, art therapy, bereavement counselling, couples counselling, general counselling, addiction counselling, pretty much you name it, we do it. So that's kind of what keeps us going within that. We also then do, this is only last year we started this now, we do workshops for schools, so primary, post-primary and third level. So we're really, what thinking behind that was we need to be able to educate and provide information to people at actually quite a young stage. At primary level, they need to be knowing what's going on with them, with their emotions. So it's very basic stuff, but they're getting a grasp of kind of what emotions are and how they affect them. And then some little tricks to kind of calm themselves down, de-stress, think, because that's the biggest thing with anxiety and stress, is not being able, because your brain is just going a million miles a minute and you can't make proper decisions. So it's about creating techniques for children and young people where they can slow themselves so they're able to think and move. So our hope is to eventually bring those types of workshops online. So students all over the country can have access to this, and we want to also do the same thing for parents, similar workshops with parents. So because it's not just the kids, obviously the kids are going to be coming home with all these ideas, and the parents have no clue what they're talking about. So what we wanted to do was kind of have a whole kind of wraparound with that, where you provide information to people, and the only way to do that in a financially feasible way is through online work.
Incredible. So no, and that was one of the things that attracted ourselves to reach out, was the fact that you are, I think, so progressive, and it's very clear that you're using the digital technology around us to provide services that would just not be available otherwise. It's
exactly. Now we hope the rural broadband initiative within the Republic will take shape quicker than it is. It's unfortunately it's very slow, and we really need to get that moving. But we use a piece of software for our counselling that was actually designed to work on low broadband widths. It was designed to work on like sub-Saharan Africa, on mining platforms, that kind of thing. So we can actually work with like 1 and 2G as well, kind of at that low. So it's quite good. So we would have people on the farm, and I think I was mentioning it to you earlier on there, where you've got people on the farm. You've got a farmer literally having his counselling on his tractor or in his barn. This is something that has never happened before. They've
Mm.
never had this kind of access before. It means they don't need to, it cuts out the excuses as well, which is something that comes as part and parcel of mental health.
Mm-hmm.
When people are want to engage, it's really, really hard to, first of all, pick up the phone or send that email to say, I need some support. But then after that, it's actually keeping them engaged is the tough part as well. So the more barriers you can pull away, like, oh, I can't leave the house or whatever it is, or there's no parking or that kind of thing. The more those barriers you can take away, the more people will engage.
Mm-hmm.
And the more people are more likely to engage as well. So I was talking about the mental health thing there, but we also then do a conflict resolution or mediation, and we provide Ireland's first online mediation service. So that kind of came about through. So basically, in Galway and the west of Ireland, we provide in Galway for the west of Ireland free housing mediation, free neighbour or community mediation, and family mediation. So we asked for donations, but there's no actual fee for it. And then we saw, what we were coming across is there was a couple of cases where you would have a family that were in distress because they were separating, and one of the parents moved away to a different county or even to a different country. And then there was issues around children and custody and that kind of stuff. So what we found was there was a real need to be able to, once again, like the mental health, get to people where they're at.
Mm-hmm.
You know, people at the end of the day, they don't want to be in conflict.
Mm-hmm.
So what you need to do as a provider, what we need to do as a provider ourselves, is to make it as accessible as possible to them.
Mm-hmm.
And this is why we went down the online route.
Yeah.
And we have some very successful work coming out of that. And you'd have some kind of, you'd also have two parties maybe that shouldn't be in the same room.
Mm-hmm.
As each other for whatever reason. It could be a power dynamic or whatever reason. And then this way, at least they can still get things sorted out, but the whole health and safety aspect of that kind of conflict is taken out of it. Because all you need to do is just turn off the button on the computer, and that's that, you know. And you can also then say, if you're feeling anxious or you're feeling weak when it comes to talking with this other party, you can have support with you in the room with you as well. You know, it's just I also mentioned it's not a panacea for all these problems, but what it is, online work enhances and makes things more accessible. So yeah, we really we're grasping that with both hands, because that's the way forward as far as we can see it. I mean, another example of the way we're connecting with people is the Irish Abroad work we do. So we set up basically it's just a free online counselling service. They get 6 free counselling sessions from an Irish counsellor, so it's culturally sensitive counselling is what it's called. And if you're an Irish person anywhere in the world, time zone dependent, but pretty much anywhere in the world, you have an Irish passport. That's the only a current Irish passport. That's the only stipulation we have. You can get support from home. So I mean, that's what I mean. The online, it can support locally, nationally, and internationally if it's just utilized correctly. Yeah.
And absolutely incredible. And you mentioned the broadband across Ireland. You know, it's a pity that with when you think of how well the economy is doing, that the rural broadband is so far behind. So hopefully that gets kicked into touch soon.
Well, hopefully it does. I think part of the problem with it, from what I can see as an outsider, I do not know the intricacies of it, but this was started so long ago that they're still working on technology. They're still talking about fiber cables and this kind of stuff, whereas you could actually do 4 and 5G broadband, and it works just as well. Or use telephone lines. It's just there's unfortunately, that's part of the process with a lot of these big, massive government contracts, especially when it comes to technology. Is technology moves so quickly that you start a process 5 years ago, it's nowhere near the same as what it was back then. Like, you know, and so I think that's also part of the the issue as
Yeah,
well.
for sure. And just in regards funding for yourself, so it's actually quite a large operation. You have a lot of cost, I'm sure, in technology and out of hours support. How do you manage to fund yourselves?
So we have always been fairly self-sustaining. What we do is we have some services that are low cost and some services that are free. The low cost services pay to keep the lights on and pay to keep people there. And then we get some government funding. Like in the past, we had some government funding from the Department of Foreign Affairs to help us set up the Irish Abroad service, well, to research it first and then set it up and pilot it. And then sometimes we will get a little bit of funding here and there from, like to say, the Electric Ireland Energy for Generations program. They gave us some funding to run our school workshops to pilot them. So we balance it. I suppose that comes from my past in business as well. I didn't want us to be solely reliant on one source.
Yeah,
we needed to be able to balance things.
of course. So very, very true. And actually, then brings us nicely into your role as the CEO for the organization. You've obviously developed quite a vision and looking at the online and the out of hours, which is incredible and very innovative in the space, because actually people don't need help Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. As we both know, it sadly doesn't work that way. And again, I'm thinking of my own rural background as well, growing up on the farm, actually being able to support all walks of life that are in the
No
in the
matter where
local
they
area,
are.
which is incredible. So do you what is your role as a CEO? Then what's involved?
Well, it's kind of interesting because I started Helplink as a social enterprise. So it was actually a for-profit company when it originally started off, but it was a social enterprise. And then within a couple of years, we realized that there were some of the things that we wanted to do for free and that kind of thing, and we couldn't keep the for-profit model if that's what we wanted to do. So in 2014, we became a not-for-profit organization, and I then got a board above me. Whereas before that, everything was on me. But then once the board came in, to be honest, I was a little bit worried about it at the start because I kind of liked having my hands on the reins, and driving the vision. But what it did was it advanced the vision. It advanced the whole organization because I had 6 to 8, depending on the time of year, directors with really good knowledge of their sectors, bringing it and feeding into me. I'm feeding back to them, and we're working on each other. So where I was working solo before, I mean, yes, I had people supporting me and that kind of stuff, but now I had this body of amazing wisdom,
experts,
expertise that were really helping to, and they were really interested in the organization and what we were doing. Otherwise, they wouldn't be doing it voluntarily. We just came on leaps and bounds. And then in 2017, we became a registered charity. On top of that, then as well.
Amazing. And you mentioned again, very interesting. Again, I'm intrigued how innovative you've been. You online, digital, out of hours, and then you're talking about actually going into the schools and educating young people, and maybe removing a little bit of a stigma around that. But then also taking it from the schools and recognizing that parents also need help and advice. Because no parents, when we have our kids, we don't get the instruction book.
There's no glossary to go down. Okay, what's this behavior? No. I mean, this is it. I mean, yes, we need to educate our youth, but at the same time, there's no point in educating the youth without educating their carers. So it needs to be a whole service, and first of all, the most financially astute way of doing that is via online. And then second of all, you also create a lot more access as well because it's online. And people can go on. Our plan is that people will be able to go on at any time of the day, any time of the night, and it'll all be video-based content. And they'll be able to go on and watch these videos and do workshops. So there'll be workshop on there where people can come on at any time, because this actually came a little bit from my own online study, as I mentioned earlier on, using a kind of a platform where you can answer questions and that kind of thing and watch videos and what have you. So that is the plan. What you'll be doing once again is creating access 24/7 to information that they can use.
And your past experience, you've been employee, business owner, entrepreneur. You've ran a business for profit, as we said, and then you came into the organisation, and now all the way through to a charity. Do you find a massive difference between running a charity and the businesses before?
Not a huge amount, because of the fact that I brought business acumen into the charity. Well, it develops through the charity, let's say. And unfortunately, you'll have a lot of charities out there that start up out of goodwill, out of they see a need for something there, but then the people don't have any business experience, and then the charities fail. That was the one thing that I wanted to make sure didn't happen with us.
Yeah.
I wanted us to be a long-standing organization. And the other side of that was, what was I going to say about that?
You get a lot of support.
Yeah. So I was also on this, in 2014, I was also on this Enterprise Ireland Accelerator course, with those health records things I was telling you about. And through that, I learned about lean business models, which I found fascinating. I didn't know anything about those before, and I brought that into the charity as well. So we operate lean anyway because we're a charity, so it's not much money. But I was able to bring that lean model into, and we still, even though we're 6.5 years going, and usually the lean model is for the first year or two, I just keep that the whole way going through, and that's how we work with them.
Amazing. And then you mentioned, actually, when we were talking earlier, you've got a great board of directors around you as well, supporting, exactly. which is really important too.
If I didn't have them, we wouldn't be where we are. I can say that. Like, we would be doing a lot of good, but we certainly wouldn't be where we are now, and that's for sure. I also set up a chapter of Health 2.0. I don't know if you've heard of that, but it's a global kind of like a networking thing of anybody that's involved in health and tech. And they've got chapters all over the world, so Health 2.0. So I was part of the Dublin chapter, and then myself and a GP set up the Galway chapter of that. So we still, both myself still do a lot of volunteer work, and so my mental health reform stuff is voluntary, and the Health 2.0 stuff is charity. But the Health 2.0 was really fascinating because you get to see the cutting edge of what's going on with health and tech. So very good stuff.
Incredible, excellent. So another conversation and another day for that one.
Exactly.
No, very good. No, very good. And again, it's we're very lucky to be able to work with. We've worked with a lot of charities now, and it's incredible the work that's that's done in them as an organisation. It's incredible. So where do you see mental health then develop now in Ireland and for yourselves going forward?
For ourselves, as I said, we have a 5-year strategic plan that we set up last year with our chairperson. Basically, one of the things was that we were only providing the Irish abroad service in Australia and Canada at the time, and then we would go global within 5 years, and we actually went global last March, so we're kind of ahead of schedule with that one. We want to bring our Mind Tax, which is the schools programs. As I mentioned, I'm going to bring those online, so everybody nationally across the island can access that information 24/7. And then we want to consolidate our face-to-face services, we're going to call them that, in the west of Ireland. So we hope to open up the 2 new offices as well within the next year or so in Mayo and Roscommon. That's our plan. Not too much.
keep you out of trouble for a little while.
Yeah, exactly. So we also, there's within the Conflict Resolution Centre that we provide, we're also hoping to work on a European project with a couple of countries across Europe around this program called IMAP, which is intercultural mediation. So basically what advocacy program is the long-term for it. But basically what it is you're training leaders from different cultures that are within our communities and our communities themselves, they say the Irish communities themselves, to work together to have a community space that's shared by all, both immigrants and native people. So that's a big piece of work we're hoping to do in next year as well, or over the coming years as well.
Incredible.
So it's it's non-stop, but it definitely keeps us going.
No, that's incredible. No, and again, for Jews, for all the work for you and the team they're doing, it's incredible. And as I say, we look forward to connecting again in the future and seeing what else is happening. So, if anyone wanted to find out more about your organisation and what you're doing, what's the best way for them to do that?
So it's the website, really. For us, it's all about the website. There's a lot of information on there. You could spend the day on it. But it's Helplink, HELPLINK.ie, helplink.ie, very simple, and it's there. And then they can send us messages through that as well. There's the phone numbers there. The phone number is 091 798. Oh, I never got this right. Well, you might want to cut that bit.
No, we keep that bit in.
091759887. 091759887.
And what we'll do, we make sure if anyone's watching this as a video, underneath the video there'll be a link to the website and the phone number. And if you're reading this or looking at this in an article, again in the article you'll find a link to the website, and anyone can click to call. And
I forgot to say also, just in September gone, we started the Helplink show, which can be listened to online on our YouTube channel. So it's once a month, and we talk with different community organizations and people that are working around mental health and well-being. So recently we spoke with Alone, Pieta House. In January, we'll be speaking with Cancer Care West, Act for Meningitis. That's one of the other ways of us creating accessibility and knowledge is through the radio shows. So pretty much all the community radio shows in the west of Ireland also schedule it, but it's also on our YouTube channel if anybody wants to.
Incredible. So I'm not surprised you're using YouTube as well. So
yes, exactly. So yeah.
For sure, we'll check that out, and we'll have the links to that as well below. So incredible. So you're putting so much content out there. So
we're really just trying to get the information out there in an accessible way to people, but it's what we're putting out there is put out by people that are qualified to give the advice. They're experts in it. It's not. Unfortunately, that's one of the other problems that we have in the Republic. I'm not sure if it's the same in the North, but we still don't have registration for our counsellors and therapists. Yeah, so anybody literally can go out there and put a plaque up on the wall and call themselves a counsellor, and there's a lot of that around. There's people that do weekend courses and decide to go out and they can support people, and they can't. So that's another kind of aim of ours that runs right through us, is making sure we have experts doing what we do.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. You need people who've been trained, qualified, and have wealth of experience and a network they can lean on if they need it.
Exactly, So we provide supervision for our counsellors in here as well. We also provide ongoing training twice a year and to upskill them and that kind of thing. So it's very important for us to be
incredible. Excellent. Well, again, thank you very much for taking time out to share what your organisation does. Really, really interesting to find out, and I look forward to sharing this everywhere we can, and hopefully we might catch up again in the near future and see what the future holds, because I think you're breaking ground in regards to charity and online and content creation and sharing content, which is really, really interesting, and even reaching a global audience as well, which is unusual and incredible all the way from Galway.
We're the first in the world to support our diaspora in this way.
Amazing. Absolutely.
And we couldn't do it without our partners as well.
No, totally agree. Excellent. Well, thank you very much again.
No problem. Okay.
Thank you.
We'll talk to you soon.